Well, we've reached the end of yet another month, and that means it's time to look forward to more and more cruise restarts in the upcoming month of November. We're going to tell you all you need to know about which ships are resuming operations out of US ports, not only for Carnival Cruise Lines, but also for Royal Caribbean. And Royal Caribbean is also making more news this week as they're bringing back a popular pre-boarding program called The Key on a handful of their cruise ships on a case-by-case basis. Never heard of it? We'll tell you what you need to know. Disney Cruise Line has finally resumed operations for all 4 of their vessels sailing out of US waters. I'd also like to share with you a brilliantly made short documentary series from Business Insider that shows you what happens to cruise ships when they go to die. All this coming up on Midships. Hey, welcome to the Midships YouTube channel. I'm your Captain Corey. Thank you so much for stopping by the channel today. Well, there's a lot of cruise news going on, but first and foremost, it is the end of October, and that means only one thing. It's time to look forward to November and all of the cruise restarts that are coming up over the next 30 days or so. And there's plenty of news to go around about that. But first and foremost, I would love to wish you all at the Midships family a very happy Halloween. Hopefully you get to spend some time carving pumpkins, trick-or-treating, or hanging out with someone special in your life. So let's hop right into the cruise restart news with a look at which Carnival cruise ships are going to be resuming operations in the month of November. And here we have a peek at them from cruisecritic.com. You can see the Carnival Valor is going to restart operations tomorrow out of New Orleans, as well as the Carnival Legend will be restarting from a very popular port with the Midships family up in Baltimore, Maryland on November 14th. Now, cruises are currently sold out for the November 1st sailing of Carnival Valor. However, you can still buy your way aboard Carnival Legend for her very first sailing out of Baltimore. And those aren't the only ships we need to talk about restarting in November, because we also have the Holland America Rotterdam, who restarts November 5th, as well as the Norwegian Escape will be resuming operations from Port Canaveral on November 13th. And moving right along, we have Princess Cruise Line restarts. We have the Enchanted Princess out of Fort Lauderdale on November 10th. The Sky Princess will join her on November 20th out of Fort Lauderdale. And last, the Caribbean Princess will resume operations again from Fort Lauderdale towards the end of the month on November 28th. And you may have noticed Royal Caribbean kind of got left out of that first round of restart news, but don't worry, they have a few ships that are going to be resuming in the month of November. So let's go ahead and cover that now from cruiseindustrynews.com. 14 out of the 26 ships that Royal Caribbean International will have in 2022 are currently sailing from England, Spain, the US, Cyprus, Singapore, as well as Hong Kong. The cruise line previously announced plans to have the full fleet in operation by the spring of 2022. From November onward, not only will more Royal Caribbean International ships be added into service, but several of the currently sailing ships will be starting new cruise programs. And probably one of the biggest ships to note here is Adventure of the Seas, who's going to be resuming operations on November 8th. Now, longtime viewers may know that I'll be aboard Adventure of the Seas on December 1st out of Galveston, Texas. Now, Adventure has already been operating, but she recently went into dry docks to get a fresh coat of paint and maybe some new features installed on board the ship. We'll have to check her out in just about a month's time from now. And in addition to Adventure of the Seas, there are a few more restarts for Royal Caribbean in the month of November, including Explorer of the Seas on November 7th, who's going to restart operations out of San Juan, Puerto Rico, as well as Navigator of the Seas, who resumes operations November 19th out of the home port of Los Angeles. And I would like to add one other noteworthy change here. This is for Oasis of the Seas. She has been operating since early September from Cape Liberty up in Bayonne, New Jersey, but she is now slated to move down to Miami for cruises beginning November 3rd. So hopefully that brings you up to date with all of the cruise ships restarting in the month of November. If I missed one, why don't you go ahead and comment it down below in the comment section. I do read them and I love your feedback. While you're down there, why don't you go ahead and subscribe to our channel and hit the like button on this video if you absolutely love cruising. I'd really appreciate it. And speaking of Royal Caribbean, there's some murmurs online that I can confirm of a very special program with the company called The Key, which gives you a lot of fantastic access on board the ship, as well as priority embarkation, specialty dining when you get on board. Royal Caribbean was also offering some free room service, special seating at entertainment venues, as well as reserved times to use some of the more popular items on the ship, like the flow riders, that type of thing. So The Key had gone away for a while during the pandemic, but now there's rumors that I can confirm that it's coming back on some ships. So let's go ahead and hop into an article from RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com and learn a little bit more. And this is by author Matt Hochberg. Spotted. Royal Caribbean brings back early check-in and welcome lunch to the Key program. Royal Caribbean is bringing back some of the perks it had previously altered or changed for its VIP treatment program that guests can purchase before their cruise, called the Key. A RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com member received an email from Royal Caribbean prior to her Freedom of the Seas cruise this coming weekend with a look at her benefits for purchasing the Key, and there are two notable changes. First and foremost, the option for early check-in at the cruise terminal has returned, which is fantastic. That was one of the best things about the Key program, in my opinion. According to the email, guests who bought the Key can arrive to the cruise terminal between 11 and 11:30 a.m. instead of the appointment time they received at check-in for their cruise. And I can tell you that a lot of those check-in times for Royal Caribbean can even push past 3 or 3:30 in the afternoon, which is not fun to know that all these other folks are on your cruise ship enjoying the food and the amenities, and you're stuck there waiting to board. Come on, man. If a passenger who purchased the Key is not able to make the early access window, they should arrive within their appointment time, and they'll receive priority access once inside the terminal. There will be signage for guests who bought the Key to follow inside the terminal so you can get to your priority access station. In addition, the Embarkation Day meal is back in the main dining room, which features a welcome lunch provided by the Chops Grill. Of note, the Embarkation Day lunch is only available between 12 noon and 1:30 p.m. And lastly, Royal Caribbean has also brought back the private debarkation a la carte breakfast, replacing the grab-and-go breakfast option that we had reported on just a few weeks ago. And it should also be noted that a few weeks back when we reported on the changes to the Key program, Royal Caribbean had added complimentary room service to one of the benefits, and as of yet, they have not removed that as a benefit. So it looks like the Key is actually becoming more and more valuable to cruisers, especially when you factor in that the internet on board the ship is going to cost you 75 to 80% of the entire price of the Key program. With all the extra benefits you get from the Key, now the complimentary room service, the priority embarkation, disembarkation, as well as that steakhouse lunch, I think the Key program is definitely worth it to someone sailing with Royal Caribbean who doesn't have a super high status with the cruise line. Oh, and as a side note, I checked into the Key for both of my upcoming Royal Caribbean cruises that I have on the books, and my Odyssey of the Seas voyage does include the Key. It costs about $25 per day, but my Adventure of the Seas cruise in December does not offer the Key currently, but I'll keep checking on that for you guys. All right, so that's enough Royal Caribbean for one day. Let's go ahead and talk about Disney Cruise Lines, because the mouse is back in the news. From CruiseHive.com by Robert McGilvery. Disney Magic resumes sailings from the cruise capital of the world. After the ship successfully completed a season of staycation holidays in the United Kingdom, Disney Magic welcomed her first guests on board from her new home port of Port Miami. The cruise capital of the world will be hosting the vessel for the foreseeable future. Guests will enjoy a mix of 4- and 5-day sailings to the Caribbean and the Bahamas, which almost all visit Disney's ever-popular private island, Castaway Cay. Disney Magic is the second ship to resume operations out of Florida. Additionally, the Disney Magic was the first Disney cruise ship to resume operations earlier this year, when she set sail on a series of 2-, 3-, and 4-night cruises out of Liverpool, Southampton, Newcastle, as well as Tilbury. The highly popular staycations ended a while ago, and since then, Disney Magic has made her way back to Port Miami, where she welcomed just under 1,500 guests on board this week. The Disney Cruise Line has chosen to make a gradual return to operations for its 4 ships, which started with Disney Magic sailing out of the United Kingdom. Over in the United States, the Disney Dream sailed first from Port Canaveral back on August 9th. Disney Fantasy resumed operations soon after on September 11th, also from Port Canaveral, and all 3 ships are now sailing on a variety of Caribbean and Bahamas cruises. Lastly, the Disney Wonder set sail earlier this month from San Diego, California, on October 1st. The ship is sailing cruises along the Mexican Riviera, but on November 19th, she will reposition to Galveston, Texas for a series of Western Caribbean cruises down to Cozumel and Costa Maya. And just as a quick reminder, if you are planning to sail aboard Disney Cruise Lines in the coming few months, your children do not have to be vaccinated, but they do have to show proof of a negative test at embarkation, and the cruise line will be testing them again when you get to the cruise port. So make sure you're doing your tests following all the protocols on Disney Cruises' website. Well, as a YouTuber, I myself am guilty of binge watching YouTube all the time, and I stumbled onto a video from Business Insider, which now has an article written about it by cruiseradio.net. And I'd really like to share the video with you as well as the article. Now, all the articles that I reference in every Midships episode are linked in the description below. You can simply click on it. It'll take you straight to the video. While you're down there clicking on my links, there are fabulous Amazon affiliate links for some totally fantastic cruise swag that you should take with you on every cruise. why don't you check them out? Every link you click does help give back to the channel just a little bit. From cruiseradio.net by Richard Simmons, video shows final resting place, dismantling of Carnival Cruise Line ships. When we think about how the cruise industry was impacted by the pandemic, we tend to focus on the massive amounts of money lost thanks to ships being unable to sail for well over a year. But in order to help keep themselves literally afloat, many lines had to make difficult decisions, including which of their ships were worth continuing to invest in and which were better to be beached, literally and metaphorically. And here is a photo of one of the beached vessels. I believe this is the Carnival Fantasy here, but we'll read on. Carnival Cruise Line, for example, crunched the numbers and came to the conclusion to decommission several of their older ships. So while the Carnival Victory was hanging out in Cadiz, Spain, receiving a $200 million facelift that would transform her to the brand new Carnival Radiance, other ships in the fleet wound up being sold for parts and sent to foreign shores so they could be scrapped. To be fair, the vessels, such as the Carnival Inspiration, likely would have met the same fate just a few years down the line. During several Carnival Corporation's earning calls, the company spoke about how they would accelerate the removal of ships, which were previously expected to be sold over the ensuing years. Translation: the ships were sold off earlier than expected. In better times, those ships may well have found a new home with another cruise line, such as Bahamas Paradise Cruise Line, the little cruise line who could. And like I just said, for example, when Bahamas Paradise Cruise Line was founded in 2014, it purchased the former Costa Celebration from Carnival and renamed it to the Grand Celebration to begin their operations. However, with the industry shut down, there was little call for repurposed ships, making Carnival's best option to sell the vessels for scrap. So what exactly does the final stage of life look like for a cruise ship? Well, for those who love to ship, it might be hard to look at, but it's also a pretty fascinating process. The folks at Business Insider released an 8-minute video, which you can watch after this episode, that explains where sold for scrap ships wind up and what happens to them once they arrive there. And so you can see the thumbnail of this video here. It's pretty sad seeing all of these old cruise ships just lined up there, crashed into each other on the shore, just being cut apart for scrap. I mean, all of these Carnival ships at least had 4, 5, 6, maybe 10 good years left in them, but unfortunately, due to the pandemic, their time in service was cut a little bit short. So make sure you stick around after today's episode to go ahead and watch that Business Insider short documentary. It's only about 8 minutes long. Definitely worth watching. It's very interesting. If you made it this far into today's episode, why haven't you subscribed to our channel? I watch my metrics and I know only about 14% of you guys that come back every single day have hit the subscribe button. Why don't you take me for a quick test drive, maybe a week or two? If it's not for you, that's fine. While you're down there, why don't you give us a big thumbs up? It helps tell YouTube that content like this should be shared with more and more people, and I'd really appreciate it. Thanks so much for stopping by the channel today, and until next time, we'll see ya on the Midships.